So I want to talk about something that doesn't often get discussed in the fitness, wellness, and community space. And that's what it actually costs to build something real, not necessarily financial, although we'll get there. I mean, what it costs in real time and the energy and the constant tension between wanting to give freely and then the need to survive. So my name's Jacob and I'm a small business owner, personal trainer and endurance coach and community builder. And for the last few years, I've been running a space called Mohawk Wellness Collective. It's a brick and mortar community built around fitness, wellness, recovery, and social connection. And I want to be honest about something. Uh, it's hard to keep it alive. I made a deliberate choice when I started Mohawk that I was going to operate. I didn't want to operate out of a park. I wanted, or say, a digital format, an online coach. I wanted it to be a real place, somewhere people could walk through a door day in and day out and, feel like it's somewhere that they actually belonged. It's a really cool little house, literally makes you feel at home. So I think we very much accomplished that. But that decision costs a lot of money, rent, utilities, equipment, staffing, just a lot of different expenses associated with running a brick and mortar space. So, at that same time, I made another decision. I wasn't going to charge for everything because the moment you put a price on every single thing that you offer, you stop building community and you start running off of transactions. And people will immediately feel the difference, as well as myself. It just doesn't feel as good asking for a lot of this stuff that I know is inherently free. Community is free. Some of the time and energy stuff that I'm talking about is where that tension lives. So almost every day, under this roof, we're offering things that aren't monetized. That's group runs, other community programming events, and just a space for people to come day in and day out. So I'm constantly trying to get creative about how to fund that without turning every single interaction into a sales pitch. That's been the hardest part of this whole thing. So that's problem number one. Problem number two, it lives more on like the coaching side of things. And this one is close to my heart because I see it play out every single week. So running is nuanced, more nuanced than most people realize, but it's also probably one of the most accessible things for most people. But back to the nuance, I'd argue that it's even more nuanced than strength training because when you're running, or more specifically training for something, running is so dictated by your aerobic system or your anaerobic system. So it's very rooted in your individual metabolism. It's heavily involved with that. So how fast you should be running, what volume is appropriate, what pace is actually recovery versus what pace is, quietly breaking you down over time. When it comes to new runners, since it is so accessible, you just got to lace up the shoes and go. They're often running in groups or just running too fast. They run at a pace that feels hard, and hard in a lot of things feels like progress, but with running, it's not necessarily the case. It's oftentimes the setup for injury that sidelines you for weeks and kills the momentum that you were building. So what do? They join a run club for even more accountability, for more motivation, for community, and the run club runs at whatever pace the group runs at. So they push to keep up, and they get hurt, or they hold back to stay with the group, and they don't actually improve. So I've lived this at Mohawk. We do group runs throughout the week, and we try to keep them intentional, easy efforts, zone 2 oftentimes, or recovery pace. And I've watched that same pace be someone else's threshold run. Their zone 4 or 5 might be my recovery zone, or zone 2. So it's the same run, completely different physiological experiences for every single person in the group. The community piece works, and the accountability piece works, but the individual growth piece, that actually training stimulus that each person needs, gets lost and is compromised. So that's problem number 2. And problem number 3 is one I've been sitting with for a long time personally. I'm competitive, really competitive, maybe even toxically competitive. And for most of my life, I've measured my worth by where I stack up against other people. Am I faster, further along, more successful? And here's what I've learned about that. It's exhausting, and it doesn't even work, because someone is always going to be ahead of me. Someone's always going to be faster than me, and so much of the gap is completely outside of my control. So I promote a growth mindset. I build communities around it. I coach people through it, and I'm still working on it myself, because competing with others doesn't just affect me. I watch it affect the people in my community every single day. Someone puts in weeks of consistent work, they're improving, they're showing up, but they look around and who's faster than them, or and then they quietly bow out, or they decide that this work is no longer for them. The format rewards whoever's already most elite. Everyone else is just funding the pot. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's a design flaw, and it's not a people problem. So those are the three problems I kept coming back to. How do you fund a community without selling it? How do you build individual performance inside of group setting? How do you make competition actually fair, that rewards effort, that's actually motivating and for everyone? That's why we came to build Outrun. Outrun is a platform for coaches and community leaders to create challenges and races for their communities with cash buy-ins, real stakes, and a structure that finally rewards effort, not just who's the fastest. So here's how it works. The first feature is a PR challenge. Everyone buys in. Before race day, we pull your personal best from Strava, Garmin, Coros, whatever you train with. That's your benchmark. That's your opponent. Beat your PR on race day, and you win a cut of the pot from those who didn't beat their PR. It's a beginner and elite runner in the same race with the exact same shot at winning, because they're not racing against each other. They're racing who they used to be. The second feature is club battles. Name still pending. We'll figure that out. There's an entire world of grassroots, unsanctioned racing that's already happening out there. Relay races, city runs, neighborhood versus neighborhood. The Speed Project is a perfect example of this. Cease and desist. These races, they already exist. The culture is real. But right now, everything runs through group chats or Venmo. So club battles would give races like that a home. Run clubs put up their fastest runners, race other clubs, track everything live through Outrun with a buy-in and a cash pot built in. So the winning club takes the pot. Maybe they contribute some of that to the community, which gets us into the third feature is community fundraising. A percentage of every pot that is raised, or that you could raise, can flow directly back to the host's community. The races fund the space that you're a part of. The space creates more races. It's not inherently a donation. It's not a sponsorship. It's the competition itself that's generating the revenue for people who built the culture around it. Community and competition, that starts with you. That's what Outrun is built around, and we're building it right now. So if any of this resonates, if you're a runner, a coach, a community lead, or just someone who's tired of competing against people instead of competing against yourself, follow along. We're sharing the whole process. This is just the beginning.